In this episode, we install Noiko to the trunk of the town car to try to get some of that quiet back. Okay, in this episode, we're going to be spending significant time in the trunk, so let's get to it. But a lot of you might be thinking, hey, this guy's trying to solve a problem that doesn't exist. Lincolns shouldn't be loud to begin with, but well, if you haven't been following along my story, the last two uploads tell that story, and that was the previous owner had straight piped the car. I put on a second set of mufflers, and but anyway, we got to get all this stuff out of the trunk so we can spend some time in here. And my goodness, what this big box possibly be for the town car. I guess what I'm saying is future uploads. Stay tuned for this. But I've got some leftover Noiko sound deadener from a previous project, so we are going to try to find as many surfaces behind the rear seat to cover. And also, what I've noticed since owning this car since like March, it is now September 1st, like on the test drive, the passenger side door speaker in the front cut in and out, and then eventually so did the driver's door. And the previous owner admitted to he only used crimp connections. I think at times I've been down to one speaker in the back in this whole sound system. So we're going to take everything off, we're going to cover it with sound deadener, and we're going to look at those electrical connections, see if we can at least tie up the back end some other day, some other episode. We will tackle the front doors, but let's get to it. Also, you can see the previous owner had an amp, and so we have all those connections abandoned in place. I don't know, I'm not a big sound system guy, but since all this work is done, I may consider hooking up an amp someday. But first things first, we gotta make sure the speakers we have actually work. So I don't know if this is true for the Grand Marquis as well as the Crown Vic, but at least here on the Lincoln Town Car, we've got extra covers. They've got this goofy trunk closing system thing where, like, when it gets so close, it's like those cabinets and those drawer slides that auto close themselves. So I think that's like a motor in there. We'll see if I'm right. But we gotta remove this panel, and we'll get on there and start to look at the electrical connections to the I think there's 6x8s in the rear package tray is what they call that. But one other thing. So if this is your first time to my channel, I'm Grant Tommy, and this is Straight Six Fan, your home for offbeat hot rodding. And yes, this is a 2003 Lincoln Town Car. Anyway, just wanted to say welcome to the channel. So here's a closer look at the obvious. There's 3 plastic pins here. I hope it's just a simple like quarter turn operation. Loosen it, and we'll see what other challenge we have to get the rest of this business off. So these little cap screws, or whatever you want to call them, aren't threaded themselves. Just one little flange in here, but they do thread off of a stud. So I don't know that I totally hate the previous approach to the wiring. It looks like what they did is they spliced in to keep the factory connector, so if you wanted to come back with factory speakers you could, so I guess I can kind of respect that. But it also feels like it's trying too hard with these little, I don't even know what you call these, but I don't know that this is my problem. I think what it is up here, this is just shrink wrap holding, I think this is literally just wire fed through a hole, and then like this shrink wrap sleeve on it, and I think that's what's probably over time like jiggles, and I lose a speaker from time to time. So alright, so it turns out I have this speaker wire left over from who knows what. While I'm not incredibly impressed by the gauge of the wire, like I said, I'm not a sound system guy, so this probably just means I'm not going to probably hook up an amp if this is my final lead to my speakers. But it does have the proper connections that work with the speakers, so, and there's plenty of length to this. And then also I finally broke down, you know, after years of seeing these on like Instagram and other places, I'm gonna give these guys a chance. You know, these got the solder in it, and it's a heat heat sleeve, heat shrink sleeve, and all that stuff. So we're gonna give these a shot, see how we like it, and hopefully we won't have to worry about at least this speaker cutting out anymore. Driver's side seems to be the one that's held all this time, but I'm back here. I will probably redo it as well. Now, seeing how tiny the little solder section is, does give me a little bit of worries about how thin the wire was of this and how well I've got it braided with the thicker wire. So who knows how well it is at these exact points, but I guess we're gonna roll the dice here, and this is how we learn whether or not this is a good solution or not. Alright, so my first impressions are, well, I still like the idea of them. I will just say, like, when you're using the smallest one, like I was, come on, focus, that, I mean, obviously you expect they have the science worked out, that the heat shrink wrap, the melting point of the solder and all that stuff. I'm not sure how much the solder actually melted in there with as thin of the plastic tube as there was. And then obviously kind of limited by how much I could pull the wire out. So getting the heat gun in there in an appropriate angle to evenly distribute the heat and do that without burning through the rest of the heat shrink. Maybe not the best application is tight quarters, but otherwise it worked. Fired it up. I can hear out of that speaker, so that's great. We'll do the driver's side, and then we'll get to slapping some Noiko on. Maybe, I haven't quite figured out how hard it's going to be to get this cover off, but we may look to do some of that above the, I think that's the gas tank in there. But anyway. Okay, we got that cover out. It wasn't too hard. As you saw, I took the spare tire out, so it kind of, the way it like lips over, this piece lips over that. Now the top of the gas tank area has some bit of sound deadening on it, so I don't know if we'll get carried away necessarily on the top, but we'll probably try to get at least this vertical face, the wheel wells, everything behind the back seat as well. Again, if you haven't been following along the entire series, I've got a soon-to-be one-year-old daughter who sits in the car seat back there, so just trying to make it a less obnoxious experience for everybody involved. Definitely, there's still some, if you caught my review after I got the Flowmaster Flow FX on, still not as quiet as I'd like it to be. Kind of just drony at the lower RPM, so I'm hoping this will go a long way into helping fix it. Alright, our first order of business is we are going to clean the surfaces with my go-to degreaser, Super Clean. They're really good about supporting YouTube creators, and honestly their product's good. Compared to other degreasers I've used, like, it's the best one I've used, and not that I've used like a ton of degreasers, but I would say there's 3 I've typically used, and definitely the best. So we'll get the surfaces cleaned up, and we'll probably come back with maybe even like some acetone to make sure that it's super clean, super dry, and then we'll start applying the Noiko. Alright, so here's the end product. We got a strip all the way across the top, continuous, and then we filled in the gaps between the factory and the wheel well right in there. And then we slapped basically a sheet on the top of each wheel well. And we stripped in across the top of the panel behind the seat. And filled in the factory subwoofer spot with a piece of cardboard and slapped a piece of sound deadener on there. And I did double check, this is the 80 mil product, so this should be pretty good. And then anything we had left, we just defaulted to this back corner as to where to keep slacking the stuff, as that's where my daughter's car seat lives. The other nice part about this project is I've been able to clean all the panels. This little organizer bin has been great. And left in it actually was a clock spring, which I know the car needs. I don't know if this one is any good or not. I don't know if this is an old one, and maybe they just abandoned and didn't put one back in. But that's cool if it works. So in the comments, let me know, can I take that to be tested somewhere? I don't know. But then the other cool thing is I found the secret sauce to how he did the center caps on the Mustang wheels. So there's here Mustang center caps. So there was a bag of this, and then you have some blank center caps. So yeah, it's kind of cool. Some pleasant surprises were tossed in the bin there. And but yeah, since you've stuck around this long, I just as well unbox this guy that you saw at the beginning of the episode. So let's tear into that and give you guys a sneak peek as to what is coming down the pike. Alright, so we went to our friends over at Deadener to pick this guy up. Or shall I say, for them to deliver it to us. But what you are looking at is the new beefier rear sway bar for this thing. If you've ever been underneath any of these to look at the factory sway bar, rear sway bar, it's kind of like, man, are we even trying? But man, I'm stoked for this. So it's the first real fun part. And then just for the shameless promotion, there you go, Deadener's very own sway bar kit. I believe maybe something like Ebach makes them for them, but yeah, pretty cool. Pretty excited about this. We'll eventually get a front sway bar as well. My dreams are to airbag the front and have it on an adjustable air ride system. Of course, factory rear airbags. Chris sells a solenoid to convert the rears, but we're going to throw everything back together. Sway bar is just going to live in my trunk for a while, maybe another month, before we can install it. We're going to put this all back together, and we're going to do some before and after comparisons to the cabin noise after the sound deadener here. I downloaded an app for my phone, so how accurate it is, I don't know, but the first, the before trial, basically it topped out about 89 decibels interior noise from the driver's seat, so if that lowered by 3 decibels, I would be stoked. I'd be really happy with that. But we'll see. Alright, well, truth be told, the facts don't lie. The phone app does not look like it came down at all. But I can tell you psychologically or mentally, it feels like the window or the full range of loudness has closed up a little bit. Like, I don't know, hard to explain. Like, the most annoying droniness you don't notice, I don't think, as quick, but it's still there. So, alright, well, you win some, you lose some, and I guess I lost that one. I don't know, but we've got 2 speakers working functionally in the back, so that's good. Anyway, stay tuned for more town car content coming up here on the channel. Should be the end of the month. That's kind of the gig. Last day of every month is when new uploads go up, so thanks for tuning in, and all my 6 fans out there. Thanks for watching.